So we'll talk about that when Angela gets here, and lots more coming up today as well. But let's start it out today with a bit of an update and a bit of an analysis, if you will, of the current emergency, the power outage, ongoing for, well, I guess it's into its fourth day now, or just about into its fourth day, in the west end of the downtown core. It's still eerie to drive into the downtown core via the west side and see this, I think it's 17 square block area where the lights are still off. Because you're never farther than about a block from a place where the power is on. Yet in this 17 square block area, the power has been off since the fire broke out in ENMAX's vault underneath 8th Street Southwest on Saturday night, about 8:30 in the evening. ENMAX has just done an update on the situation, and they say that they are nearing completion of splicing all the new cables back into the grid downtown. They've now moved into the testing phase, which also requires extensive work. Once the testing phase is done, they're able to restore the power. They say if all goes well, power should be restored by noon tomorrow. That's still the goal. That's still the target. And they have said there's a possibility, not a probability, but a possibility that they may actually get the power on sooner than noon tomorrow. But that's still the goal. Watching all this has been Steve Armstrong, a guy who used to be provincial director of the Alberta Red Cross, who knows a little something about disasters and how to cope with them and how to get communities back up on their feet. And he's been looking at who's been doing things right, who's been doing things wrong, where we maybe need to make some improvements the next time around. Because, you know, we learn with every one of these disasters, and this year Calgary's turning out to be the best classroom there is. Steve Armstrong, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for joining me today.
Interested to hear what you have to say. I know that you're pretty impressed with the job that ENMAX has been doing, at least keeping people informed about what they're doing.
Well, I think they've actually done a great job along with the city, because the one thing people need to know is information. You know, when people see, like even last year with the floods or the Slave Lake fires before that, the snowstorm, and now this, people will make stuff up if they don't get the right information. And I think the CEO of ENMAX and, of course, the mayor's being front and center, explaining to people what's happening, not making wild promises like the Thursday deadline. Better to under promise and over deliver when those deadlines come up, and give people just a sense of comfort that someone's in charge, and someone has their confidence, and they're not making. And people then don't make things up.
Yeah, you know, I can't help but compare it to 16 months ago. At the height of the flood, when Premier She, who must not be named, said, "I'm going to make this right for everyone."
Yeah, and you have to be cautious. People aren't foolish when they see stuff like this happen, and people, like I say, they just need to have realistic expectations, and if you tell them it'll take till Thursday, everybody's cool. You can make your plans around that.
And it's amazing how people have responded to that. People who are who live in, who work in the affected area, they are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you said it was going to be on Monday, power on, and it didn't turn on till Thursday, you'd have another gigantic problem, disaster on your hands of a man-made making it, for sure.
Okay. So communications is key in the aftermath, or during, I suppose, any disaster and the aftermath of it. And you're saying both ENMAX and the city have done a really good job on that.
I think so, and I think they've kept up with it, because as social media, Twitter, and the like take over our information feeds, things happen so fast, and miscommunication, mistruths, half-truths get out ahead of organizations like governments and utilities, and they really have to. Then you have to work 10 times as hard to correct an error and get ahead of it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's one of the things that has gone really well this time. I need to take a quick break, and then I want to talk to you about some of the things that maybe we could tweak for next time, okay?
Certainly.
Steve Armstrong is my guest, former provincial director of the Alberta Red Cross. I'm Dave Taylor, back after this. Speaking with Steve Armstrong, former provincial director of the Alberta Red Cross, about what's working, what isn't, what's been done well, what's been in some need of improvement, at least, in handling this latest emergency in Calgary, the power outage caused by the fire in ENMAX's vault under 8th Street Southwest on Saturday night. So before the break, Steve, you gave big props to both ENMAX and the city for their good communications during all of this. But I understand you've got a little bit of a concern about whether the city has stepped up to the plate in the way that it should have in terms of providing relief.
Well, it's one thing you have to be cautious about a time like this is not to be a Monday morning quarterback or spend too much time picking fly poop out of pepper. But the problem that usually happens in these sort of events are the people that are at the bottom of the social economic scale with the least capacity to look after themselves are often kind of left to them. And I would even include businesses as far as their business continuity plans, because most big companies, if you're a salaried employee, you probably won't see an interruption. If you're a smaller company with a lot of hourly staff, often those guys don't get they often get docked to pay because they weren't available to work, and nor can some businesses afford to pay that. So I don't know particularly that people have been haven't stepped up, but it's the issue I would say is always is the bottom of the socioeconomic scale. People struggle the most, and then they have to bump into all sorts of systems and bureaucracies, either government or non-governmental organizations, when they try to get help. And that's where it becomes a problem. So I fundamentally believe that 98% of the people that are impacted by events like this are honest, and they're not going to steal. But somehow or other, we build systems to deal with a 2% minority. Then that impacts the 98% that needs help. So I would say that if we can move to a point where we know somebody's going to steal from us, but let's not punish everybody because of that.
Yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And the other side of the equation where I see from a privileged platform now of being outside looking in is the expectation that organizations like Red Cross and Salvation Army, Samaritan's Purse, all the other NGOs and not-for-profits that are stepping up to help here, I think government as a whole needs to help these organizations be stronger, because I get it. You can't have 10,000 people standing around doing nothing for the event that may or may not happen. But these other organizations have created an aura of invincibility because they keep stepping up and doing their job. And actually not even their job, actually doing the job of government in partnership, hopefully.
Where does that line get drawn between what the Red... I'll ask about the Red Cross, because that's your area of expertise, right? But where does the line show up where the Red Cross should stop doing its job and government should start doing its?
Oh, fundamentally, it's as long as somebody's in harm's way and somebody, is struggling, then organizations like Red Cross and others need to fill that gap. But at the same time, it's easy to pass the buck. If somebody keeps stepping up and mowing your grass in your backyard, why buy a lawnmower?
Yeah, I got you.
Like, really. So, I don't believe that an organization like Red Cross and others would ever turn somebody away who's in desperate need of help.
And they're never going to say, okay, we were here for the first 24 hours. That's all we're going to do. It's in your court now, when they know that there are people standing in line outside, I don't know, Mawada Armory, for instance. Yeah.
And the other thing is they're most of these, not most, but all of them are class organizations, and they're not going to be in the media anymore, bad-mouthing the provincial government or whoever,
for sure,
because of these things. So I think there needs to be a stronger arrangement made between government and civil society to protect people at times of disaster.
As part of emergency planning.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the easy phase, quite frankly, Dave, is the emergency phase. It's life safety, food, shelter, life safety, first aid. And as we've seen with the floods and Slave Lake, and potentially from this, the real heavy lifting from these organizations and from government and civil society is putting people back on their feet and the recovery process.
Yeah.
And I understand you're speaking to somebody later today. Yes, there is an opportunity here for people to be bigger, better, stronger after they recover, but that doesn't come easy, and it doesn't come without a great personal cost and a great community cost.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I've got a minute left, Steve. Is there anything else of note that went right or went wrong about this?
Again, I think avoiding being a Monday morning quarterback, I fundamentally think the emergency phase was handled well.
Mm-hmm.
I have not seen what I would hope to see to give people comfort for their recovery, their long-term recovery, and getting businesses back on their feet and open and running. And I'll give credit where credit's due, that I hope that people are actually preparing those sort of things.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will say that within a year or 2 years after major disaster, there's often as much as 50% bankruptcy foreclosure rates as far as business goes.
Yeah.
We didn't see that so much with the floods because there's a great effort to prevent that. But this is a little smaller scale, and it's easy to say, well, that was just a small thing, and we can just let it go.
But it might be the proverbial straw that breaks the camel's back for some businesses who are walloped by the flood.
Absolutely. A great old colonel of mine from the Army used to say, everybody has, if courage is what helps you stand up to those things, everybody has so much change, equivalent of courage in your pocket, and every time you bump into something, you have to pay it out. Mm-hmm. And some people have a great capacity to take those expenses, and other people don't. And this could be, like you say, the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Right. Steve, thanks for your insight.
Oh, my great pleasure.
Steve Armstrong, former provincial director of the Alberta Red Cross. I'm Dave Taylor, back after this.
Next up on the all-out clear-out 2014 lot, we have the Ram 1500. Motor Trend's Truck of the Year will stop the bidding at. Sold to the man in the hat. 20 cents.